If we had told the story of the Vietnam War broadly and deeply in the mid to late 70s, maybe some of those men might not have suffered quite as much as they have.
But you never knew what you're running into. It could be a machine gun right in front of you. So that was always my anxious moment. And then what we'd do, we'd dive in there, get out of sight if we weren't hit on the LZ, which occasional patrols were. They jumped off, jumped straight back on me.
The Hezbollah levelled a weapon at me. They were very frightened that I was an Israeli spy, and it took a lot of time to convince the Hezbollah soldiers that I wasn't a threat. I was simply an unarmed UN peacekeeper like the rest of my teammates.
One of the most emotional things I've seen, all these 600 people. Every single one of them turned out and welcomed him back there and thanked him for making a difference in their lives. And his wife was with him and she was just overjoyed. And he was healed just like that.
When we finally came to rest, I sort of come to realise that my leg was broken. In fact, my femur was fractured in 3 places, the lower shaft sticking out the back of my leg. My teeth were all smashed out.
And that, he said, this is the assassination list from the militia have. That is the order they want to assassinate people. And I said, but how come your name's? He said, they think I had not done what I should have.
We have a responsibility which is no less in making the decision to send Australians to war, to then tell their stories once they have returned, and to do it now.
The War Memorial's role in making sure the understanding is correct, that we don't have myths, we're not romantic, that we can admire, but we're honest, that we do tell the good with the bad, and that we do try and explain the situation. You're doing it to explain and understand.
Just the range of stuff they have here. I've never seen anything quite like it in one place. It's really amazing.
See that big window, that bubble window? That was my window. I used to look at that window all the time.
It would have been fantastic if it had been open 3 days, so more people could have access to it. But yeah, it's really quite fantastic when you think of Boer War, First World War, Second World War. There's some amazing things here.
I would love to have all the hidden gems that we don't get to see because there's just not enough room, like all the stuff that's hidden away. I would love for that to be on display so that it can be shared with the nation.
My own family have gained much by coming to the War Memorial. It's no longer just a story that I relay to them via letters or talking to them. They can see what I have done, what those that I have served alongside have done over many, many years.
Probably the most important medals to me out of my 8 service medals, given that my fallen teammates, my four colleagues who died during the Lebanon War, their families were also awarded those same 2 medals.
You've got to be thinking about the present and the future. And that's what this place is for, to help you.
We dug up the ground and pulled out a plastic bag, and inside the plastic bag was this beautiful cloth.
However, the Wounded in Combat medal, because we currently don't have
He said to me,
we don't recognise or honour our wounded.
I'd like you to have it. This was the only thing I had left. What do you say to a man who offers you something like that?
So it's important for peacekeepers, it's important for those who have lost their lives, and it's also important for family members and communities to be able to come here together and just think about what conflict means to men and women, serving women and their families who also support those who are suffering. And you cannot, I dare say, you cannot put a price on that.
There are a lot of stories that aren't captured within the War Memorial. There's so many different areas that really need to be shown and highlighted to the Australian people, and there's just no space.
Talk about the dilemma of whether the War Memorial is a memorial or a museum. In my opinion, it's both. And the museum should validate and keep from becoming myth or indeed religion the memorial, because there is a danger.
It was very difficult to get onto a march in Sydney, to march on Anzac Day. We were put in the wrong place. They put us behind the CMF or the reservists when we will actually return servicemen and women. And we just really couldn't find a footing in Australia for some time, because I don't think the older veterans and the general public really understand what's involved with peacekeeping.
And let's remember that, of course, service at sea is very isolated. It is not something that people can see on a daily basis. It is over the horizon. It is distant. That is where our sailors serve, and we need to be able to tell that story in a meaningful way within the War Memorial.
Honours them in death and cherishes them in memory. That memory will be kept alive by the staff and the building.
I was standing in line, and one of the women who was queuing in front of me turned around and saw that I was in my suit with my service medals, and she started, saying, "Oh, they look fantastic, and you look very smart." And we had a conversation for a couple of minutes, and then she said, "So, who served in your family? Who was the recipient of these medals? Was it your grandfather?" And I said, "No, it was me." So it's funny to think that the public, particularly in towns that might.
It's a place where families can come. It's not celebrating war or conflict. It's commemorating those who have put their lives on the line, and it's commemorating those who have come back and still suffer until the day they die with those mental and psychological injuries.
Yeah, the War Memorial definitely is a healing experience for a lot of people. The modern conflict,
the ones that have passed, but for the living as well. Because I know a lot of David's friends that come here that suffer from PTSD, and they go to poppies, and it helps them. We see a lot of them. We're always in contact with them.
And Andrew was semi-conscious, and at that stage I saw his eyes roll back in his head. And I thought that at that point he died. And I grabbed his hand and I said, "Stay with me." I said, "Stay with me, Jonesy."
Finding ways of keeping them connected is going to be important. Giving them symbols, so hopefully this display in the War Memorial, giving them things that they can relate to, things that they can feel proud of, things that can help them make meaning of what they've seen are going to be important. But I don't think there's anything more important than keeping in touch with their mates.
It's different to going to say, his gravesite. That's a totally different feeling. But when I come here, I get this great sense of pride for Rob and all the others. And when friends come, they pause and they then tell you amazing stories that I'd not heard before. When his mates come and say, "Can you come and show us where he is?" And I learned so much.
Only a few months ago, and I was talking to an ex-sailor, ex-serving sailor, and he was here with his kids, and he'd been to the Afghanistan display, and he was a bit shaken. And he said, he started talking to me, and he said, I had to walk out, sort of thing. And I said to him, "Oh, really?" I said, "You're all right," sort of thing. We had a bit of a discussion, and I said, "Have you signed the wall?" And he said, "What wall?" Because it's kind of tucked away. And I said, "Around here you can sign the wall. If you're in the Middle East area of Ops, you can go and sign the wall." And it was funny, I organised him to go see some of the girls standing there with security and got a pen for him and that. And then I kind of wandered off and he grabbed his kids and he went over and did it. And he hunted us down afterwards and he said, "That was so good." And he said, I just feel so much better now. I showed my daughters, I signed the thing and I found his name afterwards and that. He just felt so good about it. So it was obviously a healing thing for him. He got to do with his kids. So it was, it made me feel pretty good too, to be honest. He was, pretty chuffed after that.
I remember just tears coming to my eyes. And it was a funny experience. It was an emotion I really wasn't sure of at the time. I remember a couple of mates putting their arms around me and saying, "Hey, big fella, you're right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just need a moment to try to understand what's happening to me." As we sat down, the thought that came to mind was, I'm home. I'm finally home. I didn't know that I needed that until that moment. It was such a moment of closure. It closed the loop.
I'd like to say to the mums and dads that have a serving boy, girl in the Defence Forces, don't be scared to tell them you love them, because you just don't know what's around the corner.
You can't unsee the things that you've seen, and so you will live with those experiences for the rest of your life.